On election eve, both parties are making a final push to sway voters ahead of the midterms. Wright State political expert Dr. Lee Hanna joins me now to talk about the high-stakes races. Now, the President Trump is in Cleveland today. Do you think his support will help some of those Republican candidates looking to keep their hold here in Ohio?
Yeah, so President Trump's approval in Ohio is kind of on par with it is in the country. So there's that 35–40% that approve him or even strongly approve of his performance. And so any last minute signal from the president that this election is important certainly matters. He draws more eyes and attention than, any individual Republican in the state. At the same time, DeWine has always kind of had to try to play in the middle of that kind of the establishment Republican and kind of the supporter of Trump. And, in the primary, we saw that he did enough to beat candidates that ran more closely to President Trump, like Mary Taylor. Renacci, the Senate candidate, has run much more closely to a Trump-like position. It doesn't seem to, polling would suggest that he's not doing as well. But, I think in this last, the day before, given how many people have voted early, given how few people are undecided, perhaps a rally from the president will be effective.
Now, come tomorrow, are you expecting a blue wave or more of a red ripple?
I'm going to hedge so much. So it looks like the polling and most of the data we have, early voting, if you go back and look at the special election results and everything else, it seems like it should be a stronger year for the Democrats. That would fit, historical trends. However, just given where they are competing in the Senate compared to where in the House, most speculate that the Democrats will probably flip the House. They'll win an additional 24 seats, which would change control of the House. However, in the Senate, there's a decent chance that they actually lose a seat or two in the Senate. So it depends on, you will kind of see partisans on both sides. Probably, more than likely, unless it's a real tsunami, they're going to have interpretations that fit their point of view. But that's kind of where the average speculation is right now.
What kind of political implications will we see moving forward, depending on who controls Congress? Obviously, if the Democrats win, that's going to make it a lot harder for President Trump to get stuff done.
Sure. Yes, it will definitely slow down parts of his agenda. And what it also does in practicality is we of course get a Democratic speaker, and we get chairs of every committee that are Democrats. And Democrats have the majority on every committee. So if we think about these big issues, health care or, the Intel Committee or, investigations of President Trump, when that's controlled by Democrats rather than Republicans, that's a significantly different tenor, significantly different outcomes. So if they do win the House, it certainly will change, kind of what we see there. It would also be true in the Senate, but like I said, if we are just systematically missing the polls by 5 or 6 points, then perhaps the Democrats win the Senate. But otherwise, it looks like we'll have Republican control, Mitch McConnell in power, etc.
Finally, let's shift just real quickly to the governor's race. It is a toss-up at this point. What is the one single issue you think this boils down to for voters?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I do think healthcare continues to come up, the opioid crisis. Those two seem to be really key. And a lot of it is how they have both kind of spun their story and attacked one another, and kind of the veracity of that and whether any of those will really draw voters out.
All right, Dr. Lee Hanna, thank you so much for joining us this morning.